Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy. Joining me again this morning, Hartwell. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, nice rainy day out there. Kind of gloomy, but we shall
April
proceed.
showers. Well, now it's May, but April showers bring the flowers.
Well, I think somebody said that, and then it started raining.
Well, that's good. We want rain.
So we've been talking about the individual circuitry, and this is our third consecutive week. So do you want to just give us a little recap, maybe, on where we've been for those who didn't have the other 2 weeks?
Yeah. In our survey of the circuitry, we left the individual circuitry for last. We did the collective circuitry, we did the tribal circuitry, and now for 2 weeks we've been doing the individual circuitry, which is all about direct knowingness. It's about an on-off pulse that has a melancholic feel to it, and it drives the differentiation of the form, as human design would say. It drives the uniqueness, the innovation, the creativity, and the rebelliousness and the mutation. And so all the circuit we've been talking about was the knowing circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And now there is a small sub-circuit as well, which is called the centering circuit. And it's made up of only 2 channels. So those 2 channels are 3410 and the 5125. And their keynote is still empowerment. So what this means in general is that for the people who have these channels, if you live in alignment with your own design, then you live in a way that is unique. And in that uniqueness, you empower the rest of the world. And you bring that uniqueness for the sake of the tribe. Because evolution is driven by the individual circuitry, it's perfected by the collective, and it is included on some level by the tribe. So here in the centering circuit, both of these circuits, both of these channels originate from the G center. And it's this empowers us to love ourselves, to follow our own unique path in life by living according to sacral response. So, it's just what it says. It's a centering circuit. It centers us. It reveals that the individual pathway to loving ourselves is tied to sacral response. So the 3410 is a channel of exploration, a design of following one's convictions. So with gate 34, we have the gate of power, directly connected to the sacral, giving us all the energy we need to live as ourselves in response to life. And 10 is the gate of the behavior of the self. It's also, and I like to call it the gate of self-love. It's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
This is a creative channel for the centering circuit. And it's that ability that we see in the world expressed by those who have it, of being able to follow your own convictions, no matter how unusual they may take you, kind of following the beat of your own drummer.
Mm-hmm.
So people who have this and live it well give us all permission to follow our own convictions, and to love ourselves without qualification.
Nice.
So it empowers the independence and the self-reliance of each unique individual. And that's what, channel of exploration, that's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, the 5125, is one of those ones where, ooh, that's so cool. Well, this is called the channel of initiation. It's a design of needing to be first, is the kind of the subheading for it.
Mm-hmm.
But here we have the gate 51, the gate of shock, hooking up with the gate 25, the gate of universal love.
Mm-hmm. I call
And
shotgun.
what's that?
I call shotgun. I want to be first to have this one.
Yeah. So when in the context of this gate, we're not talking unconditional love, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking universal love. So it has the ability to see and love the beauty in the animate, what we
Mm-hmm.
normally call the living, and
Mm-hmm.
as well as the inanimate equally. So it's
Mm.
a love for life a love for life and a love for um
Is that like a
well,
love for God? A love for life? God is life. God is breath.
maybe, maybe.
Mm.
But
Interesting.
with this channel, initiation becomes an art.
Mm.
Um, and people with this channel can recognize the potential for individuation. When invited, they can provide the shock that initiates and empowers the people around them.
Mm.
I've had the great fortune, I guess, of having two spiritual teachers who've had this channel. And Ra, the founder of Human Design, had this channel.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, its ability to give a shock. Its ability to kind of whether you're the warrior who takes a leap from courage, or whether you're the fool who takes the leap because you're a fool, it matters
Mm-hmm.
not. This takes us into new territory, and it connects. It's the only channel originating in the ego that is not tribal. And so it really reveals that there is a
Oh,
linkage between the tribe and the higher self. It is the bridge.
right.
These folks are here to feel the wonder of their own unique spirit, their higher self, and in the process to empower and mutate the collective. So it's pretty cool. And I mean, on certain levels, it can show
Mm-hmm.
up as somebody who's very competitive. But that competition is often that sense
Right.
of wanting to move past their own comfort zone, their own boundaries,
Well, it's like,
right? So
yeah, my competition is with myself, kind of thing, is what you're saying.
yes, yes,
Trying to be the best that I can be versus
I did
beating
a
somebody.
marathon. I did a marathon last year, and now I want to beat my best time. Or
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge myself to climb all the highest peaks in all the continents. It's
Mm-hmm.
that kind of energy. But it's also
Right.
the energy of sitting with a spiritual teacher, and something happens when you're sitting around them.
Mm.
There's that sense of being delivered a shock that takes you into another, opens up a new capacity in your life.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Yeah. So those two, just two in that circuit, are the
Mm-hmm.
centering circuit.
All right.
Now our final exploration of our circuitry. Um, I mean, we may, there's argument that I could have started with this, but I wanted to end with it. Um, we have what's called the integration channel. And for those of you who are reasonably familiar with the structure of a body graph, there's
Mm-hmm.
that weird area, that where we have gate 20 at the throat, and gate 10 in the G, and gate
Mm-hmm.
34 in the sacral, and gate 57 in the spleen. And so, unlike all the other channels, there's four endings here. And so that's why, it's at the core of the body graph. This is called the integration channel. It sets up our key defense for our form, for our physical form. And its core component or core keynote is self-empowerment. Now, with the rest of the knowing circuit, we talked about empowerment. Here
Mm-hmm.
we're talking self-empowerment. So, subtle shift, something to
Mm-hmm.
keep aware, something to be aware of. Um, this is the most complex it's the most complex system of all the channels. So here we have it's kind of like 4 channels in one, but it's all called the integration channel. And
Mm-hmm.
it makes it slightly confusing. I don't necessarily fully understand it myself, but there you go.
Yeah.
There's so much to understand.
Yeah.
So integration becomes possible when we trust that life within us is empowered by response, which is gate 34 in the sacral, guided by our intuition, which is gate 57, directed by correct behavior, which is gate 10, and manifested in the now, gate 20 at the throat. So
Mm-hmm.
this integration channel brings with it a natural self-assuredness and self-sufficiency that neither looks to nor easily accepts direction from others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very self-contained, you could
Right.
say. So here we can talk about 34 separate channels, but only if you have all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Only if you have 34, 57, 10, and 20 do you have the actual integration channel in its entirety. But we can speak about it in parts.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3457, for instance, the channel of power, is called the design of an archetype. It's a defensive, intuitive, intelligent, empowered to act spontaneously to keep us alive. So you've got gate of power, 34 in the sacral, which is all about response, of course. And
Mm-hmm.
then 57 is a gate of intuitive clarity. So your spleen, your survival awareness, operates flawlessly to intuitively give you the guidance to keep you alive. Um, this is the potential to perfect the powers of survival based purely on intuition and by making us very responsive, kind of like a. Well, the thought that comes to me is like having a spidey sense, that
Yeah. Exactly.
Spider-Man sense of danger, danger, alert,
Yeah.
alert. You
Yeah.
know, it also gives the capacity to, have this kind of ease and beauty and grace within the physical body as a human that
Mm-hmm.
we admire in animals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Just that
Now the
trust.
30,
Yeah.
what's that, Chris?
Just that trust that life happens. You be is what you mean. Yeah.
UB,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
The 3420, of course, is also originating in the spleen, or the sacral, rather.
Mm-hmm.
This is a channel of charisma, taking us from that gate of power at 34 right to the gate of the now. Um, this is where awareness must become a deed. In the sense, as soon as you think about something or as soon as you respond to something, you're already in the
Mm-hmm.
process of acting.
Right.
Um, this is the drive to manifest and take action in life, guided directly by sacral response.
Mm-hmm.
These people have a lot of ability to sustain activity over long periods of time. Um, and consider this too. Charisma, this is called the channel of charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Charisma is generally unavailable to others. That means people who are really charismatic, it's like you might think, "Oh my God, you're the shit," or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that word is, that expression. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like they don't care. It's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah. I'm just
Yeah,
me.
I'm just me.
Yeah.
And they no moss grows on them because they they
Mm-hmm.
they rarely remain still.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the next channel, the 5710, is the channel of perfected form. A design of survival is its kind of byline.
Mm-hmm.
57 is the gate of intuitive clarity. It is very tuned into, I think it's the right ear, that the sense of clairaudience, hearing things, being very good at interpreting the vibration of sound and energy around them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the integration channel's creative aspect. Here, survival becomes an art, guided by intuitive awareness and grounded in loving and appreciating the self.
Mm.
These are the people that are really great at thinking on their feet. Um, and by following that spontaneity, you perfect your form, you perfect whatever it is you're up to. Being true to self, you naturally create something healthy and beautiful with your life. And it's interesting because architects, artists, designers often have this channel.
Interesting.
Yeah, we know a very creative person. One of our friends has this
Hmm.
channel. He's a manifester.
Yes.
Um, so they mold the world through their example. Simply by living their life, it has an effect on the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
And the final channel, the channel of awakening, goes from the gate of the behavior of the self, the self-love gate, to gate 20, the gate of a now. And it's called the channel of awakening. And here we find a commitment to higher principles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here, there's a sense of being attuned to or committed to a principle, because remember, the higher self is another way of talking about the G, and
Mm-hmm.
taking it right into this particular moment. Self-love and self-trust are the pillars of a spiritually conscious being.
Mm-hmm.
This person would say, I am alive. That is the awareness of being alive
Mm-hmm.
as a human, and I am alive now. So that awareness of the present moment, of course, is the gate of the now, gate 20.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this means that anyone with this channel is only ever speaking. Well, they could have other gates they could have other definition to the throat, but
Mm-hmm.
they're speaking directly from their higher self.
Ah,
Yeah, so it's intriguing in
nice.
that sense. So all those four together create this like super integration circuit or super integration channel that
Mm-hmm.
serves to anchor into human experience the fact that we do need to be true to ourselves in order to evolve, in order
Yeah.
in order to for evolution to be moving forward.
And I think it's interesting too because you can see how in human design that we're actually designed to be in relationship in order to accomplish that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you can see how with the electromagnetic connections and, you know, just you don't have access to that energy. So you get it from somebody else or that person. You know what I mean? It's like a puzzle, right? And when you're interacting with people, it's triggering, all of those things
Yes,
for you.
I like the way you put that. It when we study all these 64 channels and the gates that they form themselves into, it does remind us that we need all 64,
Mm-hmm.
but any given person only has 26, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a
Right.
lot of the 26 activations in any individual chart are, some of them overlap. So you're going to have, most people have at least a couple where it's activated by more than one
Mm-hmm.
activated by more than one planetary body.
Yeah.
So that really means that probably most people have 20 to 26
Mm-hmm.
unique activations because
Here's
some of them are overlapping.
Here's another question. So, when we were talking about my design, I don't know if this might help somebody else, so I'm just going to ask it. You had mentioned that I have a tribal circuit, an individual circuit, and a community circuit. So I have all three. So, what does that give me access to, or what does that bring a flavor to in the design of a person when they have one of each?
Well, in a sense, it makes you more of potentially it makes you more of a generalist, or it makes
Mhm.
you more able to bridge the different concerns because you have a toehold in each one. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's, I mean, remember our keynotes.
Mhm.
Tribal circuitry is mutually supportive.
Mhm.
Collective circuitry seeks to improve the world,
Mhm.
either through exploring the pattern through logic or through learning from experience, but it's seeking to improve the world. And share. Share
Mhm.
is the keynote. Individuality is about empowering and
Mhm.
about mutating.
Mhm.
So, um, to have a bit of all of those things is suggesting that you can yeah, some kind of bridging of all of those.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, it's interesting
and
because I always said I could move between different groups of people. Like even when I was in high school, I recognized that I could move between the jocks and the geeks and the, you know what I mean? Like the different groups, I could relate to all of them and be part of that group, whether, you know, I wasn't in any one, I would move between all of them. So,
right, and
yeah,
you, in some ways, you might not identify with any of them really strongly because you have
exactly.
that,
Yeah.
because individual circuitry tends to have a lot of outsider tendencies,
Yeah, like
right?
it almost feels like you don't really belong, but you do. Like in the moment, I feel like I belong in that situation, but any other time it's like, but I'm separate from that still. I
Hmm.
I, I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird feeling. Like I'm part of it, but I'm not part of it. It's, yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
this would only see, this is how things build on each other because you're also
Hmm.
undefined in the G. And the
Hmm.
G gives us a sense of knowing who we are and what our place is in the world. And if we
Hmm.
don't have an undefined G, it means that you have no fixed place in the world.
Yeah, and
So,
formless. Yeah. I need other
um,
people to take shape to take form, right? It's like they pull that
yeah.
out of me. Yeah.
Well, I
Mhm.
like the language I mean, what I hear in the language you're using is that um, the way I like to put what I'm hearing from you is that you're identifying aspects of your own personal mythology, your own the way that you show up in the world, which is distinct from everyone else. And I think
Mhm.
that's what human design is so very good at.
Yeah.
It gives us, through the gene keys and through the human design, it helps us feel how unique we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, it's 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 not a thing that's delivered. It's not common to find and have something that supports us in
Mhm.
understanding our own individual paths, and yet at the same time delivers the message that we are part of a larger project.
Yeah.
We are part of a much bigger whole.
Mhm. It's like what is that thing? Um it's like a holographic and you keep zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, but
That
it's the same.
fractal kind of fractal thing.
Yeah, like it's like we're this piece, and if we keep zooming in, or like here's the whole, and you keep zooming in, and then there's all these individual pieces that make up the whole, but each piece is important to the whole, right? But you
Hmm.
can zoom in, like human design and gene keys kind of make you zoom in on that individual part of the whole, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So,
And
is there, oh, go ahead.
we all remember the white areas of your chart. There is um, wherever you're white in your chart, it's not that nothing is happening. It's that
Hmm.
nothing is consistent and under your
Hmm.
control.
Mm-hmm.
And so we participate in all of the 64 energies by virtue of being energetically connected in
In relation.
societies,
Yeah.
right? So even though I really admire gate 10, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm around other people, I get to have an experience of that
Right.
because we're curious about our whiteness.
Yeah. So
Our
is there anything you want to say to wrap up the circuitry before we leave today?
um, no, I think I've said all that I want to say about the circuitry. Oh, well, I think I said this last week. I'll say it again. Um, the effect for me of going through it this time has been to realize how important each of the circuitry themes are.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're a very leftist thinker and you kind of like down with the patriarchy, down with that tribal nonsense. Maybe that's part of how you approach life and part of your experience. But
Mm-hmm.
by looking at things in a neutral way through our study of human design, we see how the tribe has a very important place. And
Mm-hmm.
the world would be, unrecognizable without it and much poorer. And
Right.
so, whatever our bias is from our own perspective, it helps us overcome that bias.
Right.
And these little chit chats we've been having, like just kind of the end where we kind of riffed a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
this is something of the field that um, I want to build into a kind of a discussion group around human design, which we are in the process of planning. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
interested in that, stay tuned for further news.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, with that, I guess we'll sign off for this week and join us next Wednesday at 9 a.m. for an interesting subject. Not sure what it's going to be, but I'm sure it will be interesting. So have a good day. Stay dry. God bless everyone.